Pittsburgh Steelers fans, it is time once again for another episode of The Hangover. And yeah, we are hungover big time from Super Bowl 57, which occurred yesterday at Glendale in Arizona. Oh, yeah, it was Super Bowl. It's a great one. Fantastic Super Bowl until maybe 3 minutes to go. We're going to talk all about that. Everybody's hungover, especially if you're a Philly fan today, because, man, they are feeling it. I actually feel bad for Philly fans. No snowballs or beatings in a stadium could really, could really make you feel better about this. So let's get into it. Tony Defeo, what is up? Welcome back. Your dreams are your ticket out.
Oh, thank you. It's good. It's good to be back after a few weeks. I'm sad to see the season end. I'm always sad to see the NFL season end, but it was a great way to end it. I mean, as far as the game, it was a fantastic game, fantastic Super Bowl, and it kind of seemed like the team that had the ball last would win, and that's pretty much what happened.
Yeah, it was weird, and we're going to talk about that. It was a weird watch. The Chiefs did everything that you're supposed to do in that situation, but nobody wanted them to do it that way unless you were a Kansas City Chiefs fan. But I'd be calling for it if I were the Steelers. I'd be doing a lot of things if it was the Steelers there. And we're going to talk about that too. What your emotions would have been if you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan watching that. Shannon White, what is up?
Hello, guys. Just excited Tone Loke's back with us, and the three amigos are back again, and just ready to talk a little bit about the Super Bowl. I won't go into detail because I know we're going to talk about the final 2 minutes, but very anticlimactic of what could have been a great legendary game. So, but I'll save that comments to later.
All right, I am going to go ahead and ask you guys this first. Shannon, who are you rooting for in this game?
I was rooting for the quality of the NFL.
No.
I was rooting for that reason. I was rooting for the Eagles to a point because I want to see the most complete and balanced roster win the game.
Okay.
That would ensure how teams, are building their roster in the future, and not just overspending in 1 or 2 or 3 positions, and then having a lot of weak spots, which could come back to bite you in big games against an evenly matched opponent. So I was kind of rooting for the Eagles. Again, didn't have a dog in the fight, so it wasn't that big a deal. But, I wanted to see if a complete roster, which I think the Eagles had the more complete roster, could beat the elite quarterback. And in the end, the elite quarterback pulled it out. So, it could have been a lot better game than actually because of that ending. But, I wasn't entirely thrilled that the Chiefs won.
Well, I love it. Jennifer Pruser is saying, hey, Sky Moore, we know. I love it because that was your draft crush.
Yep. I was happy for him and Juju.
So, and speaking of Juju, as you can see, I'm wearing my number 9 USC jersey.
Juju.
The jersey he wore at USC. And I didn't wear that during the game. I kind of was rooting for the Chiefs, and I was kind of rooting for the Eagles, but for different reasons. I don't know any Chiefs fans. I know a lot of Eagles fans that I like, and I want them to I feel crushed right now because they are friends of mine, and they were really hoping. And it's hard to believe it's been 5 years since they won a Super Bowl. So I was actually rooting for – I started out – because of them, I started out rooting for the Eagles. And then right away, I'm like, but I kind of like one of the Chiefs because of Juju. But I like Javon Hargrave, so I'm back to the Eagles. And then when I start watching the beginning of that game, I'm thinking, well, this game's going to be 42-10 in favor of the Eagles. I'm thinking Jalen Hurts is going to have 17 total touchdowns in this game. And he was just amazing. But not amazing enough, as the Chiefs pulled off what I thought was the ultimate second half. Just absolutely amazing. Tony, who are you looking for?
I hate to be wishy-washy, but it's the truth. I really didn't have any strong feelings either way. I was just excited about the matchup. I thought it was a great matchup. But the more I got into it, as far as like talking to people over the 2 weeks leading up to the game, it seemed like everybody was rooting for the Eagles. And I would say, why? Because they're from Pennsylvania. And my response, would you say it about? I'm like, no, absolutely not. So, as the more I got into it, the more I kind of wanted the Chiefs to win because of, for some reason, they've turned into the Patriots. Like 5 years ago, they were the Cinderella story. Now, like they're the evil empire because they've been to 5 straight AFC Championship games and 3 of the last 4 Super Bowls. So everybody, is they hate the Chiefs now. They think they get all the calls. So I was kind of rooting for them, but it really wasn't a strong thing. But I thought it was a great story, overall with Patrick Mahomes winning the MVP and then winning his second Super Bowl in 4 years and doing it on that bum ankle that he aggravated during the game. But I was also really impressed with the Eagles, and especially Jalen Hurts. I mean, some of the throws he made in that game were spectacular. They were big time,
were pretty
quarterback throws that he made. Yeah, he's a player. I mean, this guy's going to be here for a long time, and I think what we've learned from this Super Bowl and even from last year's Super Bowl with the Bengals is like the Super Bowl hangover thing. At least recently with these with the runner-ups, I don't think you're going to see that with the Bengals. Obviously, we didn't see that this year. They made it to the AFC Championship game, and I don't think we're going to see it with the Eagles next year. I don't know what their cap situation is like, but I don't know what their free agency situation is like. But they got a good quarterback. They got a great overall roster, and I think they're going to be back competing for that title again next year and in the next few years. So I was rooting for the Chiefs, but I would have been happy to see the Eagles win too, because I think either story would have been great. As it turns, Chiefs got their story.
So let me bring this up. There's a lot of what ifs from this Super Bowl, and I'm just going to say it flat out. It's fruitless. You can't do it. One of the things that's driving me crazy today is the fact that I'm hearing from a lot of people that if that play was not called, that penalty was not called, that the Eagles would have won that game. You can't say that. Tony, elaborate.
No, you can't say that at all. I mean, maybe the Eagles come back and win. Jalen Hurts has some, magic in that arm, and he brings it back, and they score a touchdown to win it at the end. We'll never know. So you can't talk in absolutes, even though we do that all the time. As far as the penalty is concerned, I mean, you might say it was ticky-tacky, and maybe it was, but he did grab his jersey and yank on it. I mean, you could maybe not at the end. People were focusing on his left hand at the end, but right as they separated, they showed a different angle this morning. He grabbed his jersey with his right hand and pulled his jersey. So technically it was a penalty. It's kind of like 2 weeks ago in the AFC Championship game when was it Joseph Asai, whatever, that linebacker for the Bengals, when he hit Mahomes out of bounds. And I questioned whether or not it was ticky call at that point in the game. And everybody was like, because they wanted the Bengals to lose. Oh, well, it was a foul. Who cares when it occurred? Well, now some of those same people are saying they shouldn't have called that foul against the defensive back for the Eagles, who, by the way, admitted that he grabbed him. He grabbed Juju. So it really was a penalty, and you can't just always you can't have it both ways. So we'll never know how that game would have ended. And yes, it led to an anticlimactic, but it was a penalty. And if the Chiefs would have lost that game, maybe they could have pointed to that moment right there and said, hey, there was holding on that play and they didn't call it.
Absolutely. Nobody's going to be happy, and we understand that. Shannon White, let me ask you this question. Up until the final 3 minutes of that game, and I'm sure anybody could correct me on the exact time that happened, but it was before the 2-minute warning, if I'm not mistaken. Up until that point, do you think that was the most perfect Super Bowl that the Steelers did not play in?
No, I wasn't as impressed as I guess a lot of people. I didn't think the quality of the quarterback play was all that impressive, to be honest. I thought that the offensive lines for both teams blocked very well. The quarterbacks had substantial time to throw the ball. They had a lot of open receivers. The touchdown that Hurts threw, he's been dealing with that right arm injury And you've seen it when he tried to do the Hail Mary and, he threw a 30-yard duck out there. Well, he needed to throw it 50. It's because his arms bothering him. But, it didn't affect him so much on some of his other passes. But on a lot of those deep passes, he was throwing it up and letting A.J. Brown try to go get it. Or Smith, and both of them are really good at going to get the ball. So, but Mahomes' touchdowns were wide open. I mean, the guys, it was, to me, the second half of that game was won by the coaches. It was beautiful adjustments at halftime, the offensive adjustments that Andy Reid and Bellingham, the offensive coordinator, made. They realized that the Eagles' defense was anticipating and cheating, so they was doing a lot of misdirection. They would start the guy in motion and then just have him cut back to the corner, when they got down around the goal line and ended up with 2 wide open touchdown passes with nobody within 10 yards of either receiver. So to me, what made that game competitive was that the Kansas City Chiefs offensive coaching staff won that game in the second half. And then you throw in the fumble, unforced error, the fumble that was returned for a touchdown, and then the special teams gaffe where a terrible punt resulted in a long punt return and set the Chiefs up at the 5-yard line. And those were 2 of the decisive plays in the game, as much so or more so than that penalty. So, again, the penalty, there's no guarantee that the Chiefs would have won. But I think there was other more influential and important things that happened prior to that penalty being called that decided that game.
So Steeler fans, what would they be saying if they were the Philadelphia Eagles on this day? Because I am right with you, Shannon, when you say that there's a punt return, that there was that, of course, that Hurts fumble that was returned. What about Bolton's second almost return? I know Bolton was a draft crush of a lot of people for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I know your draft crushes usually do pretty well. I will say that. But Tony, let me ask you this. I'm going to start with you. Do you remember the other almost return for a touchdown on defense? Because I kept on watching that. I know it was really quick and fast, but I thought that was a fumble more than an incomplete pass.
Actually, I was trying to watch the game as I bowled, so I'm not sure what play you're talking about. Could you enlighten me?
Well, Nick Bolton almost had a second one, and I'm going to go ahead and throw it over to Shannon since he did see it, and he's putting his fingers up. So, Shannon, enlighten us, please.
Well, there was 3 things for a catch. You got to secure it, you got to have your feet down, and you got to make a football move. When the ball come out in the flat.
I remember that now. I'm sorry.
Yeah, when the ball got out in the flat, he secured it for a split second, but he did have it. Both feet were down, but before he could turn even to make a football move, he was turning when the guy planted him, and the ball come out. By rules, and that has affected the Steelers many times, as we know, by rule that was not a fumble because it would not have been a completed catch. So I agree that it wasn't a fumble. It was very close. If he could have made a football move, it took a half step even. But I agree that wasn't a fumble.
Well, he got popped though. That was actually really impressive, Tonester.
Yeah, I know what play you mean now. I was we were actually watching it in the lounge after bowling, and everybody agreed that it was not a catch. He didn't make a football move. So I know what play you're talking about now. That shouldn't have been called but it could have very easily been a turnover.
Yeah,
they could have called it the other way.
That's a half a step. That's and I get that it was that close. So I'm still thinking that the Chiefs won that football game because of all the things that they did. So the what ifs are fruitless because you can't turn around and say that was the one thing that cost them the game. I kind of thought that was the perfect Super Bowl yesterday, the way that there was so much action. There were so many things that happened. I did not know who was going to win that game at the end because it became a pinball football game. and I love a pinball football game. I think that's fantastic. I thought that was a great effort, especially against a Philadelphia defense that is really, really, really good, and their trenches are amazing. They should have won that game 42-10, the way it started out. But the Chiefs, man, I love the way the Chiefs played. Now, I do have a problem, and my problem is this. And it's a guy that I actually don't have much of a problem as a player, but shut up, Travis Kelce. That whole thing at the end with the expletive, and you put respect to the Chief's name. Shut up! Nobody's disrespecting your Chief's name. There's always going to be an underdog. And man, this whole respect thing that Philadelphia was doing, oh, we're disrespected, and nobody believes in us. And the Chiefs and the Bengals did it. I mean, the Bengals did it so much, Tony had to take 2 weeks off. He was so distraught by the Bengals losing. Actually, you know, that's what everybody in the live chat's been saying. Where's Tony? Is he still upset about the Bengals losing?
Well, no, I was actually mentoring Joe Burrow. I was away mentoring Joe Burrow, so I'm teaching him how to win a Super Bowl through my life coaching.
You know what? I would sign up for Tony Defeo life coaching. I really would. I think that would be phenomenal.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm trying to take on big time clients.
So
now,
yeah, I mean,
now I have bad.
I love it. You've got the B's. You get an S in there, and it's a whole lot of BS. So
I'm here for
Travis.
You guys.
Well, what did you think about that? I was, I have no hard feelings for anybody that wins, but it's like, stop this whole disrespect thing. Nobody believes in us. Somebody believed in you.
Well, I mean, there's one reason I wanted the Chiefs to lose. It was Travis Kelce. He's one of my least favorite players in the NFL. So, yeah, he needs to shut up. And the last time that the Eagles won a Super Bowl, his brother was obnoxious. So I guess it runs in the family.
I mean, maybe they're Harbaugh's junior. I don't know. Shannon, your thoughts?
Yeah. Everybody, they got to have some kind of motivation. And when they've been such a dominant team and they lost Tyreek Hill and really, if you think about it, the Chiefs went from being a high-scoring, explosive offense for all those years with Hill and Kelce. And now, Mahomes and Kelce is the most unstoppable duo in football. I mean, they're the top of the line. But
amazing.
They don't have that great of receivers anymore. I mean, Juju's a possession guy. They have some role guys in there. Shanley can get deep every once in a while, but they really are not explosive in the backfield or at wide receiver. Their huge advantages at tight end. So everybody was thinking, well, they lost Hill, so they're going to take a step back. And this year, Andy Reid really done a great job coaching. And because they really went from being, a lot of plus 40 plays, plus 20 leading the league, to where they possessed the ball. They ran the ball more effectively, a lot of extended drives. They wasn't a quick strike offense as they've been in the past. So they actually won another Super Bowl with a completely different roster besides Mahomes and Kelce than they did 4 years ago. So that's impressive. And you got to give them credit. One thing I wanted to mention about the what ifs, I don't know if y'all see, but on Twitter, J.J. Watt talked about the script, the NFL script.
Oh, my buddy was saying that.
When the Hurts fumbled without being touched. It was like, it looked like the Eagles were going to take control, and he goes to switch the ball, and he just flat out dropped it before he got hit. Then, boom, they returned it for a touchdown, and then it popped up. And I know he was joking, and he said, well, there's the script for you, but that was just one of them. We've always said in all these games, it comes down to one play or two plays that seems to, be so influential to the winner. And then you throw into that penalty call, and then everybody thinks it's scripted and the NFL wanted the Chiefs to win. But I didn't know if y'all seen when J.J. Watt said that, and that caused a lot of conversation.
Well, you know what? So my buddy texts me at halftime, and I was like, "Oh, you've got to be kidding me!" He was like, "This looks scripted to me," and I was like, "I'm like, you're kidding me." But I was cordial. I didn't want to hurt. He's a good dude. I don't want to hurt his feelings. But when I think about that, I do think about a little bit of conspiracy theories, and one of the best at this, and he's not a conspiracy theorist, but our very own SEN's very own Dave Schofield. He has this theory that if there's going to be a call that could go either way, it's probably going to go for the team that's behind. They'd probably do the arrow to the team that is behind, and here's the reason: to make it more of a competitive game. So if you want to say that there's any kind of fixes in, it's because it's the team that's losing. That's why we have all these comebacks. And when I think of what Dave says, some calls that go against you, I mean, man, I think we saw this back in 2005 when Troy Polamalu did not intercept that ball. Troy intercepted that ball. But one of the craziest things that happened. So if you want to be a conspiracy theorist, you can look at stuff like that. That's fine. But the NFL might do that. And I get it. But it's not the player script. The players are not following a script. But I would not be surprised if there's an initiative to tell the referees that if you've got a 50-50 play, you go ahead and give it to the team that is behind. So, I mean, that's something that I'm not going to write an article about it. Wes, you're killing me. I get it. I'm just saying that they were driving it. Okay. Anyways, so what I'm saying is that they weren't behind, but you go ahead. The Eagles had the ball next. So whether it's a tie game or not, if the Chiefs score there anything, if they score there, especially if they score a touchdown, you're hoping that the Eagles get a chance to get it back. And what happens? They go for the tie. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So they go for the tie, and then you have a more exciting game. If that game goes to overtime, you're talking greatest Super Bowl in history, and that's exactly what they want. They always want the next one to be the best one. You see that all the time in everything. So even though there was no behind team there, I get that. But if they don't score there, then the Eagles just go down the field and get there. So I kind of look at that. They're going to get 3 anyways. Brian Brown, no, I'm not wearing a Commander shirt. This is a Juju shirt from when he played at USC. I bought it as a Steeler fan. Go ahead, jersey.
No, I mean, people always want to point to the officials, but you mentioned, as you guys pointed out, Jalen Hurts fumbled the ball and nobody touched him. That led to a touchdown. The punt and then the punt return that set up the Chiefs was it the go ahead score late in the game. I mean, it's a big play. It's just like Super Bowl 40. People talk about the officials, but they don't talk about 3rd and 28. They don't talk about Willie Parker going 75 yards untouched, and they don't talk about the trick play from Randall L that everybody should saw coming because they did it in the regular season how many times. So they point to the officials, but they don't point to their own failings.
That's very true. Shannon White, how many times have you heard that the Seahawks won that football game and the Steelers cheated to win?
No, I don't hear it too much because I don't listen to that nonsense.
Yeah, I can see that.
I don't. So a lot of people don't come at me with that stuff because I don't play that. But I want to talk about something very important.
Hit us
that nobody's mentioning, but the halftime show, Rihanna comes down from the heavens, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, why is she wearing that? And I think we were all thinking the same thing. And I'm like, and I kept saying, is she pregnant?
She's pregnant.
And everybody's like, oh, no, she had a baby like a year ago or whatever.
Nope.
I'm like, expecting. Well, I mean, why would you wear that outfit? Because, you know, it had the plastic piece here and all that, and then it looked like a baby bump. And I was like, you know, and people was like, oh, she probably hadn't lost her baby weight. And I'm like, I don't know. I think she's pregnant. Well, she was pregnant.
Yep. She still is too. Hopefully.
So I called it.
Okay. Well, good. Yeah. My wife said the same thing, and I'm like, I can't tell. I was doing work for the network halftime, and I was half paying attention. I'm not a Rihanna fan, and it's not the genre of music, because if that was Bruno Mars, if that was Jennifer Lopez and Shakira, if that's Beyonce, I thought they had pretty good halftime shows. I just think her songs are boring. And I think you throw in the pregnancy, then there's less moving around. She had dancers, but man, now that I think about it, I'm like, shame on you, NFL, for putting a pregnant woman that high in the air. My gosh, you could have killed that woman.
But think about that. All of them out there with all that clothes on, it's in Arizona. It's hot.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I mean,
I can't believe it didn't melt. I've heard people passing out from heat.
Hashtag Rihanna Snuggie. It's like she was wearing a Snuggie up there.
Yeah.
And it's like, and she's over here in Pittsburgh or Maryland or West Virginia. She's where we're freezing. Yeah, that's Arizona, and she had it going. No, she can't cancel. But I thought it was really interesting too, with a halftime show, that they didn't bring anybody else out to help her. When I say help her, to aid her, and because you always bring up special guest stars, even with solo artists. I mean, there's usually special guest stars. So, but Brian Brown wants to put her in the protocol. You can't put her in the protocol for that. I just really, to me, that's just not what I want in a halftime show. Like I said, when Bruno Mars was in it, I thought it was amazing. When The Weeknd was in it, I was like, what is this? This is some kind of like psychedelic drug dream. You know, it was Beyonce and Bruno Mars. It was good. Last year with a hip hop artist, great. Bruce Springsteen was probably the last classic rocker to be good. When that was with the Steelers in 2008. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers weren't bad, but then you've got The Who. And I like The Who, but that was dreadful. And the Rolling Stones weren't that much better for Pittsburgh either. George Teston just said they had Paul McCartney in the stands watching. Yeah, you could have tapped him in. Like, hey, let's throw the lefty. Paul, get in here. And
I'm a lefty.
Yeah, you're a lefty?
Oh yeah.
So yeah. Myrna Jane Burt says Stapleton was awesome. Stapleton, was it Chris Stapleton, or what was his name that did the national anthem?
Chris
Stapleton.
Thought he was very good. I thought Babyface doing America the Beautiful. I'm a huge proponent of America the Beautiful. Is probably one of my favorite songs ever. And now the fact that the WWE did it for all that time for WrestleManias, they would open up with America the Beautiful. I love the fact that is this the first year they've done America the Beautiful? And oh my gosh, Deb Scrivonsky. I love it. It's not a super chat, but I'm going to bring her up. I thought I was watching the Oompa Loompas, just waited for Willy Wonka. I am scared to death of that movie. That movie gives me dreams, and I could get into that. I could get into an entire why Grandpa Joe is the biggest scum of the earth, because for 18 years he laid there in bed and making Charlie, who's a minor, like a kid. What's he, 12? Charlie in the Chocolate Factory, he's 12. And him and his mom, there's 4 adults in the bed, and Grandpa Joe's laying there. And next thing you know, hey, Grandpa, check this out. I finally got the golden ticket. Yay. You've got a golden ticket? There's no bed sores with Grandpa Joe. What is the deal with that? And he almost gets Charlie killed twice. And he's not the biggest heel around. Grandpa Joe is a piece of crap. Shannon.
What are you talking about?
Willy Wonka.
Willy Wonka.
I never watched that. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Deb brought up the Oompa Loompas from Willy Wonka. Now I've got PTSD from that stupid movie. I read the book and I loved it. Go ahead, Tony.
Because Bryan had this rant before. You had this rant before on the show. I never watched Willy Wonka either, but you had this rant.
Grandpa Joe
on the show.
I got Grandpa Joe rant
I remember that from a previous podcast. Yeah.
Man, I'm repeating myself. I'm trying not to. You know who else is a complete butt?
Oh, it's traumatizing.
Uncle Frank in Home Alone. Shane, I know you know Home Alone.
Yeah, I've watched
Uncle
that.
Frank's a piece of crap too. You know it's the off season. It's the off season when I'm complaining about Grandpa Joe and Uncle Frank. Gosh, I mean, Voldemort's supposed to be bad. These buttholes. I mean, you would have bed sores if you're laying in bed for 18 years. Next thing you know, you're dancing a jig because Charlie's got a golden ticket. I've got a golden ticket. I've got a golden ticket. No, he's dancing around. Damn it.
Are you saying that it's not realistic?
Aren't all movies supposed to be realistic?
The whole chocolate factory thing should have been the first indicator.
Yeah, I mean that's just a major whole drug dream. And going crazy. Willy Wonka's killing kids. The one becomes a giant blueberry, and all this stuff's happening.
We're off the rails, man. We're off the rails.
I know, man. Gosh, if you know how to freak me, I was scared of little people for a long time because of Willy Wonka. I'm finally getting back into it.
Oh God!
Those damn halftime shows. See what they do to us?
Yeah, see let me play in the halftime show. You know what? If I get the halftime show, first person I'm putting up there is the Jerry Cherry Band. Boom.
There you go.
Then I'm gonna get Don Harris. Gonna get some Donnie Harris up there, Joe Grishecki and the House Rockers, and the Clarks. Boom. Wow. That's my halftime show.
That'd be universal appeal. But I think people they get so worked up about these halftime shows. I don't think they realize why they pick the performers they do, because they're trying to get international stars, because it's like they're watching it all over the world. Like, people don't know. Like, people are always like complaining on, so they want people like Metallica and Motley Crue. They don't. I mean, the whole world doesn't know who those people are.
I tell you what, I love Motley Crue, but a 600-pound Vince Neil up there singing Dr. Feelgood is no good for anybody. You know why they do these halftime shows, Tony? It's simple. Because it's smart. Definitely bring in Rihanna. I don't think she's good, but you bring in a different audience for everybody else. This is not, I tell you what, this is not for football fans.
No.
The halftime show's not for football fans.
No,
and it's just like the commercials. No. If you're the person that I want to punch is the person that says at the Super Bowl party, I'm just here for the commercials. Shut up! This is my national holiday. This is my day, and you're just here to see a commercial. You're gonna see Will Ferrell bitten by a zombie. Shut up!
And when was the last time anybody said, "Oh, I really love the commercials"? They don't say that anymore because it jumped the shark. People are
were better yesterday
now.
Yeah, because now we expect too much. Wow. I tell you what, I could go on and on and on, but now it's time for a controversial statement. As we've wrapped up the Super Bowl, I'm going to get a little controversial here. You guys know what I'm going to do. So we need a major change. We need a major change in the NFL award show. Hey, Kelly Clarkson dancing around. By the way, Kelly Clarkson for a halftime show, I'm in. Give me Pink. Give me Kelly Clarkson. Give me Beyonce again. I'm cool with that. Adele was there too. You could have brought Adele down there. But here's my problem. I'm watching this awards show, and I'm waiting until the very end, because this is the year. Finally, my man, Susan Lucci. Oh, I'm sorry, Cam Hayward. The reason I say Susan Lucci, she got passed over for Soap Opera Digest Actress of the Year forever. So I'm watching this, and I'm thinking, okay, we have no Hall of Famers. The Steelers fans have no Hall of Famers to root for this year, which I've got a problem with that too. I'm going to get there in a second. Then it comes to the NFL Man of the Year award. and Dak Prescott wins it. Well deserved, especially when you're talking about the fact that two of the hot buttons right now are mental health, and his brother passed away, so his brother took his own life, and the fact that his mom passed away of cancer. But then I'm thinking, Cam Hayward's dad passed away from cancer. He put his name on his eye black, and he gets fined all this money years ago. It's okay now. Now you could put stuff on shoes. You can put stuff on everything. You can do that if it's approved by the NFL. So I'm fine with that. But what I'm thinking, you know what? I have no problem with Dak. I think this is awesome. But why are we just celebrating Dak? They need to change it. NFL Walter Payton Man of the Year needs to go away, but not completely. Hear me out. We need to have the NFL Walter Payton Men of the Year. You don't announce in December that Cam Hayward wins it for the Steelers. You don't have to announce that it's Dak for the Cowboys. You should announce 32 winners. Scrolling across the screen, but you had like 40 paramedics and first responders out there for Damar Hamlin, which they should have been. But why can't you honor 32 guys on that day? So basically, we have one winner. Doesn't matter if it's Dak, doesn't matter if it's Cam, doesn't matter who it is. And you have 31 other guys that did beautiful things all year long. And now they're just, they didn't win. We mentioned them as they did good things. No, it should be the Walter Payton Men of the Year. Why can't you have 32 winners for this? Because what they do is not less than what anybody else does. Oh, hey, we had all these great things, but this guy's better than all of you. Am I off base here?
No, I actually never really thought about it till you brought it up before we went on, Bryan, and I agree. I mean, it's not an award based on on-field performance, so why not highlight what these guys do? I mean, these guys get a lot of flack. The league these players take a lot of flack from the media and the fans and everything sometimes for off the field stuff. Well, I mean, not the vast majority of NFL players are great dudes who do a lot of work in the community. And, if you have 32 winners every year, you're going to highlight 32 great individuals, and it's going to bring about awareness that these guys are out there every day doing stuff in the community. And it's not just the winner of each, the Walter Payton Award. It's various players on each team who do this. Like most of them on each team do this kind of stuff. I think it'd be a great thing, like these players. And Cam Hayward, I mean, every year that goes by, I think it's becoming more and more apparent that he's one of the greatest Steelers of all time. Like he maybe is the new Joe Green in terms of being Mr. Steeler. That's who Cam Hayward is. He's such a great guy on the field and in the community. And he's going to be around after his playing days. He's probably going to stay here and just be a fixture like, Franco Harris was for many years.
Shannon, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. Especially something you said. It's not a competition. All the other like comeback player of the award, year awards, and stuff of that nature. You want to award for on-field performance and, inspirational comebacks and all these things. But the Walter Payton Award is for, what's your work in the community off the field. And that's not a competition. Everybody should want to strive to be recognized. But it's not, as you said, you can't say this person's contributions to their community was more influential or more special than somebody else's. So I agree totally that to have an individual from each team and to spotlight them and acknowledge what they've done, their work in the community, that only makes sense, and not just name one individual award.
And another reason I think this, and I don't know what everybody's causes were. I don't know completely what Dak's what his projects are completely. I know we're doing research for mental health, which is an important thing. Seriously, I sell pharmaceuticals. I used to sell mental health drugs. I would walk out of those those psychiatrist offices, those offices. And there were times that I went into my car and I cried because of the stories that I heard, because of the things I saw. It's a major thing. We need to get on that. And cancer, you know me, 20 years cancer free in July, and we're going to celebrate. I'm 20 years, and it's something we need to look at. I'm more blessed than anybody, and that kind of research is help. I am not going to discount that for anything, but we cannot discount the fact that there's something out there called Craig's Closet. Do you guys know? Does anybody know what Craig's Closet is?
It's a charity that honors Craig Hayward, right?
Yeah. Well, Craig's Closet is Cam is making sure that all youth that need a suit for a job interview, all young men or women that need a suit, get one. And he just came up with that in like December. You have Hayward House. You have all these things that he does. That's not less than anything else that anybody else does. Whoever's doing it for the Cincinnati Bengals, who's ever doing it for every single team, it needs to be recognized. And hey, if we have 32 all pros, we can have 32 Walter Payton Men of the Year. So yeah, Jennifer says suits for interviews. I think that's fantastic. I would have never thought of that.
Right.
But this is a problem. This is a problem. There's people that don't have. There's people that actually cancel interviews because they don't think they're going to get the job because they don't have the proper clothes for it. I never thought of that. The fact that Cam's able to do that, and it's Craig's Closet because it honors his dad, love it. And Cam Hayward is going to inspire other people. And if you have 32 winners, you're going to inspire more players on your team to win that award too. And that's the best kind of competition. If you're competing on your team and you're inspiring other people to help other people, that's amazing. I love it. When the Pittsburgh Steelers show the rookies singing in hospitals or giving Christmas gifts or players passing out turkeys and doing all that, I love it because that's what it's all about. So one last thing. I want to talk about the Hall of Fame. And the Hall of Fame to me, inductions, I love it. That's one of my favorite things every year. But I was pissed this year. And it has nothing to do with Hines Ward, but it has something to do with Hines Ward. And I'm going to explain this. They gave out 9 gold jackets, even though they don't get the gold jackets until July. But they gave out 9 tickets to the Hall of Fame that were well earned. I'm not going to say that anybody didn't earn it. There are no receivers on that list. Torrey Holt is ahead of Hines. And this is not a discussion whether they're better than Hines. They're ahead of Hines because they made the top 15. Another guy that's ahead of Hines is Andre Johnson, Houston Texans. And then you've got Reggie Wayne too. I was hoping that 2 of those guys would get in because that elevates Hines to maybe number 2. He's going to have to wait so much longer. Now, I'm not going to say that Hines is never going to make the Hall of Fame. I'm just going to say that he's going to wait a long time. And we know darn well, Shannon and Tony know this. It was 2001 and 2002 when Lynn Swann finally made it, then John Stallworth finally made it. I know there's a lot of competition. I guess you did have Harold Carmichael went in a couple years ago, and they had him at the game because he was with the Eagles. But with that kind of stinks. And the other thing that I want to bring up right now, he's a Raven. But Justin Tucker, when he retires and does his 5 years, if that guy is not first ballot Hall of Fame, I'm going to scratch my head. And why do coaches wait this long to get in? Don Coryell should have got in a long time ago. He never won a ring. But when we were growing up, it was amazing. Hines' numbers, Martin, Jane, and Burt, are not that bad. He has 1,000 catches.
Yeah.
The guy deserves to be in. LC Greenwood deserves to be in. But guess what? When LC Greenwood gets in, his family's going to feel even worse because he's not there to enjoy it. It's a crying shame that it took John Madden that long to get it. It's a crying shame that it took to Ken Stabler. They waited till after Ken Stabler was dead, and then they gave it to him. Wouldn't it have been great to see the snake up there? I don't care if he's an Oakland Raider. I don't care if Justin Tucker is a Baltimore Raven. If you're good, you're good. So there's some things that I just had a rant about today. Shannon, what's your thought on the Hall of Fame process? Do you think they should actually allow more of these guys to get in each year? I don't think it waters it down.
I think the Hall of Fame should be reserved for influential, great players. Hines Ward, GB, Jeffrey Benedict, my podcast partner, he really could give you all the numbers and the statistics to support Hines Ward candidacy. If you look at the amount of times the Steelers threw the ball, he only played 3 years with Ben. And he played the rest of the time with Cordell Stewart and Tommy Maddox. And you look at his numbers versus the other quarterbacks. You look at the amount of times the Steelers threw the ball versus the percentage of opportunities to targets that the guys ahead of him had in explosive, passing attacks and teams that threw the ball predominantly. Hines Ward candidacy, he's a legend as a blocker. He's a legend as a competitor. He come up big in the biggest games. He had incredible playoff statistics. Again, Swan and Stallworth, the people talk about their numbers, but look what they accomplished when the Steelers were a power running attack and a dominant defense. And they had a formula, and Swan and Stallworth fit that formula perfectly. But they were big game players. That's who I want to see. I mean, I don't want to take anything away, but Joe Thomas made the Hall of Fame for the Cleveland Browns. He never went to the playoffs. I think he had one season he wasn't on a total loser. Now, if you're the best player on a bad team, let's say you got 5 guys on that offensive line, and you're the best player, they're going to attack the line. They're not going to attack you. They're going to attack the weak spots on the line. So, yeah, your numbers are going to look better and how many sacks you give up or whatever, because you played for a total trash team. So, I've heard Joe Thomas talk, and he said some really bad things to say about the Steelers. I always felt sorry for him because he played for the Cleveland Browns, and they suck. So I felt sorry for him. And then he starts running his mouth because, they beat the Steelers one game in the playoffs. And then he starts, you never did nothing. I mean, when you was with them, they didn't win anything. They actually went winless one year. So they got a record. They didn't win nothing. So Joe Thomas making the Hall of Fame over a lot of guys that played in meaningful games. I mean, it's like Andre Johnson. Most of his numbers, he put up huge numbers. How many times were they losing in the second half? And he gets 100 yards in the second half in garbage time. That ain't who I want to see in the Hall of Fame. You can throw up all the big numbers you want to throw up, and it doesn't impress me. What I want to see is guys who changed the game. Hines Ward had rules changed because of him, just like Mel Blount, just like James Harrison, another guy that I thought this year was more deserving than Joe Thomas. But again, we'll leave it at that. I've got my black and gold glasses on.
Mrs. Shannon, get the defibrillator. You're going to need it in a second.
Yeah. I mean, that'll get me fired up like Willie Wonka does to you. But I just think that, again, Hines Ward should have already been in the Hall of Fame. And people talk about he don't have the gaudy numbers. But if you look at the percentage of targets and the percentage of catches, his catch ratio, and what he meant to those teams, he's above those other guys, even that you said were above him. Now,
let's play Price is Right, Shannon.
Yeah, I mean, that's my opinion. But, yeah, so
how many catches do you think he has?
I don't want to see statistics in the Hall of Fame. I want to see players.
Where do you think he ranks? Tony, I'm going to ask you this too. Tony, you could shout it out first. Where do you think he ranks? Don't look it up. In catches.
Hines Ward?
All time, yeah.
Probably in the top 5, maybe between 10 and 15.
Shannon, where do you think he ranks all time in catches?
For total catches?
Yeah.
I'll say 12.
You guys are close. He's 14 all time. 14. Let me read this list. Jerry Rice, number 1. Larry Fitzgerald, Tony Gonzalez, Jason Witten, Marvin Harrison, Chris Carter, Tim Brown, Terrell Owens, Anquan Bolden, Reggie Wayne, who's not in, Andre Johnson, Steve Smith Sr., I hate that guy, Isaac Bruce, and Hines Ward. Hines Ward has more than Randy Moss. And before you say, well, Randy Moss had a shorter career than Hines Ward, no, he played one more year than Hines Ward. Brandon Marshall's up for it next year. He's number 16. Antonio Gates is up for it next year. He's 17. Andre Reed, 18. Derek Mason, 19. Art Monk, 20. Antonio Brown, 21. The only active play, the best active player right now. Oh, Torrey Holt, 22. Mm-hmm. Then you've got Julio Jones at 23, and he's the highest ranked active player. But if we look at this list again, we're going to go ahead and take some guys out of there, and we're going to take 2 out because Tony Gonzalez and Jason Witten are not wide receivers. They're tight ends. So among wide receivers, Hines Ward is ranked number 12. So Shannon, you would have been right. There you have it. So if you don't think he deserves to be in, look at that list.
Can I just say something?
Yeah, Tony.
Well, like we get on these guys, especially receivers, for being selfish and wanting the ball all the time, right? Just shut up and be a great teammate. And then, as soon as they retire, though, what's the first thing we focus on as far as their Hall of Fame worthiness? Well, I didn't have enough catches. Sorry, you didn't have enough catches. Can't get in. But Hines Ward passed the eye test. I mean, he was a Hall of Fame player. If you dared to pay attention to his career, the guy, as Shannon said, he was big time. He was clutching when you needed him to be in the
best
big game.
Blocking, arguably the best blocking receiver of all time.
Right, yeah. But we're not even talking about that if it wasn't for the overall career he had as far as the 1,000 catches, like Shannon pointed out, 3 years with a Hall of Fame quarterback. The rest, they were journeyman quarterbacks that he played with. And he still, when was it 2001 when he set the record, the team record for over 100 catches with Cordell Stewart. So, I mean, the guy had a fantastic career. And a Hall of Fame player when you see one. I'm not saying he was the first ballot Hall of Famer, but he certainly shouldn't have to wait 30, 40 years to get in. Hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully it's about the same time that Swan Stallworth had to wait before he gets in. But again, we get on these guys for being selfish and we cite their stats when it comes to getting in the Hall of Fame. Then a guy like Joe Thomas, like Shannon pointed out, and this is where linemen, I guess they have the advantage after their playing days. We don't really talk about them during their careers, but after their careers, we just go by, okay, he made 11 Pro Bowls. Who cares, what kind of team he was on? He's a Hall of Famer. Let's put him in.
Shannon made some great points. Tony, you made some great points. And Shannon, I think you back it up real well when you say that, I want somebody that's good at this. I want someone that's unselfish. I mean, the writers knew what this guy did. He has 2 rings, should have had a third. Hines Ward should have had a third. I watched that game this weekend. One of the main, I would have watched it anyways because I watch all Super Bowls. But the whole Max Starks, Ben Roethlisberger, that whole conundrum, I was thinking, so I'll look at it. And he's kind of wrong because they ran the ball a whole heck of a lot in the second half. And that's how they had one drive that was all runs. It was a 5-play drive, and they made it all the way. So, I think there's so many things to talk about, but Hines Ward deserves to get in, but not because he didn't have the all pros, just the fact that what he meant to the league. And I think those 1,000 catches for a guy that a lot of people, I expected you guys to say that he was going to be in the top 40 in catches. Now he's probably down a lot farther in yards, but catches are a big deal to me. And he had a good bit of touchdowns too. So with that being said, it's time for us to get on out of here. Thanks so much for hanging out with us, man. I got a little, I think I needed the defibrillator. And then since Shannon and our wives have the same first name, I think maybe they should be getting them for their husbands. So that's on our Christmas list.
I love it.
Valentine's Day gift.
Valentine's Day, and you know what? We'll put the Steel Curtain Network logo on our defibrillator, and that's, there we go. Hey, so you notice that the name is different. We're still going to be here, just different banner. SCN. Get to know that. Put those other letters away. That's okay, but you're still going to have the great quality of content. We are not going anywhere. You might not hear Tony on Friday nights, but that's an employment choice because of his profession. You're going to small things might change, but the same people you know and love are going to be here. And Jennifer, yes, it's a great name. Did I even say Jennifer? Or do you remember that from last time? I bet you she remembers that from last time because I don't think I said the names. All right, guys, it's been a lot of fun. We would like to apologize to the producers of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and Willy Wonka. Rihanna and her family, good luck with that pregnancy. May that be a healthy baby. We would like to go ahead and anyone else that we offended in the show.
I apologize to all Metallica fans.
Oh, Metallica fans. I said that Vince Neil from Motley Crue, one of my heroes musically, was 600 pounds. I
accept your apologies.
Well, you accept it. I'm probably bigger than you.
No, I mean about Metallica.
Metallica. You're a big Metallica.
Motley Crue. I mean, these are
oh my gosh,
my music.
Could you see Shannon headbanging? Oh, that's great. All right, guys, it's time to get out of here just when you think that you've got all of the answers. Tony Defeo, we missed you the last 4 weeks. Do it. No, do it again. Do it again. We do what, Tony?
We keep changing the questions.
Nah, do it more emphatically.
We keep changing the questions, and don't you forget it.
Shannon White, you take us home, baby.
Woo!
That's right, Daddy. Steel Curtain Network. Check it out, Daddy. Hot time.